I'm Will Jeffords, the head of business operations at Swampfox Technologies and a Smartsheet Overachiever, and this is Smartsheet Unlocked with Productive.
My name is Rich Coles, founder and managing director of Productive. Welcome to Smartsheet Unlocked, the show designed to help people get the most out of Smartsheet, whether just getting started or already power users, where we bring you insights and real-life examples from Smartsheet everyday users, overachievers, the team developing, and the people within Smartsheet. Ultimately, our goal is to inspire people to achieve better outcomes leveraging the fantastic platform that is Smartsheet to help transform execution and unlock potential, be it organisationally or personally. We've been sharing tips and tricks on YouTube since 2021 and working with fantastic people from around the world. So we thought it about time we brought some of these people to share their stories. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Will Jeffords. I've known Will since October 2023 when we met at Engage in Seattle, and we've been firm friends ever since. Now, given he's quite prolific with Smartsheet, hugely active in the community and user groups, and was inducted to the Smartsheet Overachievers alumni in 2024, who better to start the series off with? Well, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Rich.
Well, so you are quite the Smartsheet power advocate. You seem to be everywhere in terms of the Smartsheet community, user groups, LinkedIn. I know you've got a very busy job and you're very much a family man. How do you find time to fit it all in?
It's true. I spend a lot of time in the Smartsheet community, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that today. But I think it actually provides me energy when I do these things and when I spend time with people, whatever the venue is. So a lot of people are, you got a lot of plate spinning. And I think what happens is when I start talking to people, they just give me energy that I feed off and I take from one domain to the next.
I know you're a bit of a Smartsheet magician and you seem to be a magician with your time as well. So, well, just to kind of so people get to know a bit about you, just tell me a little about yourself. What does your company do? What's your role? And any particular fun facts about you?
Yeah, I work at Swampfox Technologies and I'm the head of business operations, and that covers lots of different areas: finance, HR, the PMO, contracts, compliance, information security. I manage those groups. We're a smaller software company building solutions for large enterprise contact centers. So different types of software solutions that are deployed in large businesses to help their contact centers work more smoothly, both for their agents and their customers. So that's what Swanfox does. And Smartsheet fits in starting in 2018 when I first was exposed to Smartsheet and started using it in a search for new PMO software, like many Smartsheet users are, and ended up finding that it was the best tool for us to use across the enterprise.
Wow. So that was back in 2018. And I'm guessing quite a lot's changed with the Smartsheet since then.
Absolutely. And it's funny because when I'm thinking about the journey from then, it was mostly just starting to dabble with whatever the basic requirements were for Swampfox at that time. And then over time, evolving into more of a power user, thanks to you and Productive, finding YouTube content and really understanding what Smartsheet could do on the journey.
Hey, thanks for that. Let's go back to that start of your journey. How did you first find Smartsheet?
So in 2018, we were probably about 40 or 50 people at that time, I think, at Swampfox. Now we're about 75 people here. And we have both professional services engagements with our customers that require regular project management practices and tools. And we were doing all of that out of Excel, essentially. And it was at that time, we were starting to see these cloud-based platforms exist. And we were knowing that we wanted to do more collaboration and not be bogged down with version control and all of the copying and pasting that you need to do with the legacy type tools. And so the project managers that work with me started to ask if we could go to one of these cloud-based tools. And we looked at all the Asana and Trello, and then somebody brought up Smartsheet. When I first was exposed to Smartsheet, one of the big claims was that you'd be able to import any Excel workbook pretty much immediately. I took that challenge to heart. Instead of starting with my PMO, I actually started with a master billing Excel workbook. And once I imported that and 3 clicks later was building workflows and automations in Smartsheet, then I was really hooked.
Wow. And again, you've gone from, I guess, 2018, starting out there, and you're now a overachiever within that side. That first light bulb moment for you, was it just the importing, or what was it that hooked you in and helped you know that Smartsheet was a product that was going to make a difference to you guys?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Rich. And I think that was some of the key things that happened there with my first even days and weeks of using Smartsheet and understanding how it was much more than just a cloud-based project management tool was essential for me. And over the years, it's really become the central focal point for all data centralization and frankly, the majority of the collaborations that need to happen here at Swampfox that are not part of just the normal day-to-day software engineering. Those things are all made much more streamlined by leveraging Smartsheet across all those business operations. So for me, it's really the application of a platform and a tool set that can be tailored in the way you need it for your organization.
Fantastic. I think you're using this word collaboration a lot here. And it's very interesting that you came to it because you're looking for a project management tool. But actually, what you're saying is you're using it for way more than a project management tool.
Yeah.
Give me an idea of how else are you using it in the business?
Sure. I always say that it saved us not only time and resources that would otherwise have to be deployed on shepherding things through workflows and making sure that communications happen correctly, but also it saved me from having to go buy other software packages because, for example, all of that work that I did with finance early on, that's allowed me to build an entire Smartsheet solution for billing and invoicing. And that has itself extended into the project management area forward and extended backwards into the space of CRM and sales and opportunities. So we really are getting more and more of the data that the company runs on, whether that's sales data, marketing data, operational data related to billing and invoicing, which is all handled through workflows and automations. HR is another area. I have a big master roster Smartsheet where all of the employees and all of their records and everything that happens for them, onboarding and offboarding and everything in between, is all handled in Smartsheet. Compliance efforts related to information security, things like SOC 2 and PCI compliance, we all handle that through there. I have a large contract master, which is where we do all of the steps for the negotiations of contracts. The list goes on and on. Essentially, if there's something going on here outside of the hardcore software development, we've got Smartsheet working with it now.
I'm starting to see why you are an overachiever on the fact that you took it, you ran with it, and you're just using it across so many parts of the business. That's one of the things which I love about Smartsheet as well, is its flexibility of how it can be used in so many different ways. And unlike other systems, which are fixed in terms of how they operate for different systems and for business, Smartsheet's got that flexibility to design how you want
Absolutely.
to. Well, let's roll back a bit here then. 2018, well, what were some of the early challenges you faced? How did you overcome them?
So we had, lucky for me, I had some processes that were already in place related to, say, the billing and invoicing workflow here at Swampfox, but it was really clear that there were pain points in it. And the way that I was able to get Smartsheet going was to get quick wins, just address what I and others have recently been terming micro anxieties that existed for the organization, right? So if you have somebody who's got these daily tasks to move something like invoice labeling from one system to another, and you can automate that for them, even though that's just one small component of the overall solution, if you go build that piece in Smartsheet and show it to them, which, by the way, you can do very easily with almost any domain space that you're doing. You can create a basic project plan for your PMO that mimics one of your easier style projects that you may be running, and use that as a leverage point to go talk to a manager and say, hey, look, if we leverage, this is how it'll work. Let me show you some automations. Let me show you some dashboards and charts and reports that would come out of this. So Smartsheet helps you itself by what it enables you to do quickly to show small wins and get buy-in from everyone.
What I'm hearing is you found it relatively easy to get started and intuitive to use Smartsheet that way. So I guess you were able to make quick progress rather than getting frustrated.
And I think that it's also a very fine line that Smartsheet walks very well among other software tools and platforms that I've been exposed to throughout my career, because there is this degree of customization that you can do. You can genuinely create bespoke solutions with Smartsheet if you apply yourself. And so you're not pigeonholed into doing something a certain way. But oftentimes when platforms are wide open, it can be daunting because the learning curve is steep and it's, how do I do this? But there's so many things that we know from basic spreadsheet manipulation or visualization of data on a dashboard that are so intuitive when you get started with Smartsheet. And I will come back to this theme often, is the community of people who are around to support you in the Smartsheet ecosphere and show you. And for me, that was massive. So the beginning of the journey in 2018, Smartsheet University, their own resources, were just playing myself with what I was doing and taking baby steps all the way up till I would say, you started actually making YouTube videos. And I started saying, oh, wow, there's a community out here beyond Smartsheet's own resources where I can tap into people who are doing stuff with the tool and see how they implement things. There's just a wealth of information and a wealth of people who are willing to share their experiences.
And again, you'll be hugely generous sharing your experience today. But ultimately, Smartsheet must have made a difference at Swampfox because you guys have been using it since 2018. And from what you described, you're using it in all sorts of parts of the business as well. So what impact has it had for the organization?
Yeah, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging about it at all, but it is such a thing now where most of the time when there's a workflow that needs some sort of optimization, when somebody says our process for this works this way, it's not only that I'm able to offer them help with what we know how to do in Smartsheet or the fact that a lot of our data is already in Smartsheet at this point. It's also that they have become familiar as users in the community of Smartsheet here at Swampfox, that people are coming to me all the time and to my team and saying, hey, we have this process, we do this over here in this tool, but we think that Smartsheet may be able to help us. So it's become so ubiquitous here that it is something that people recognize as super powerful when it comes to doing things. Like right now, one of the most recent initiatives is doing resource tracking and management out of Smartsheet related to projects and the people parts. So marrying those two domains of data together to make more collaboration and more work.
And that's something which I hear regularly from lots of people is the speed which you can create your own solutions. That there's a business challenge. You're not waiting for ages for a big, slow piece of software, but actually you can go and say, let's knock up a solution very quickly. And it sounds like what you're doing. And I guess what I'm loving hearing, Will, also is whilst you might be an overachiever, it sounds like there's a bit of a community of you guys at Swampfox as well. So clearly, if you're the only person who knows how to use it, there's a bit of a point of failure. Tell me a bit about building a community at Swampfox.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I've seen through talking to other folks at other companies in the Smartsheet community that this takes on many different flavors depending on what your organization is doing day to day. Some organizations really do need and can afford to have lots and lots of builders within their organization. There's only a couple of us who are really doing most of the building and designing of the Smartsheet solutions, but everyone here, literally all 75 employees at Swampfox are touching Smartsheet, I dare to say more than once a day at this point. We're getting user feedback and requirements from them all the time and suggestions on how to make things better or where to take the solutions and assets that we build.
Amazing. So I'm going to zone back into you, Will. Okay. Now, it'd be fair to say, and I think we're getting this loud and clear, that Smartsheet has impacted you both professionally and personally. Tell us a bit about that.
That's so true because my wife often laughs at me because early on in this journey, I would come home and spend evening hours after the children had gone to sleep on YouTube, watching you show me how to do something on YouTube as far as tips and tricks or new techniques. And not just you, others too. It became something that was so fun to find solutions to different problems that I really leaned into it hard. And then ultimately it led to a wonderful opportunity for me outside of Swampfox because someone reached out to me right at the beginning of the war with Ukraine and was looking for assistance in running an NGO, and they were exploring Smartsheet as they had just spun up their NGO, and it was Aid Ukraine Denmark, which at that point was basically transporting refugees from Ukraine into Denmark. So I had the opportunity to get in contact with them, and that led to a wonderful relationship for the next 2 years where I ended up managing their Smartsheet instance to help them with data and collaboration and workflow needs that they had for that NGO.
I've got to say is hugely powerful that you, based in the US, were able to help refugees from Ukraine with an NGO in Denmark. through the power of Smartsheet. And that's a story in its own right. And I think we've spoken about this personally many times of what that's meant to you to be able to give back, not only professionally, but you're giving out to the wider world. And I think that's what I pick up from you, and that you're giving out to the community. What you just said before of the YouTube videos, I loved when we first met at Engage in 2023. I've been firm friends since because of the YouTube videos. But as you say, there's so many others who are also contributing. And this is our goal also at Productive, to help inspire others of what you can achieve and give out to the community. So if we can make a difference, that's amazing. And I think, Will, you've now picked that baton up and you're seeing how you can help others by jumping on the community, to user groups, the overachiever bit. Let's just go down to the user groups first. So, Will, again, user group, you've been quite prolific in that you've run a number of user groups already and you've got one coming up. What do you do and why are you doing all this?
Well, I almost feel like a forward kind of thing, because I took advantage of those early on in my sort of learning journey with Smartsheet, and I continue to. I literally attended one last week that was amazing by a power user. A lot of dynamic dashboard type activity with her deployment at Weight Watchers, actually. So these things are fascinating. What happens in the virtual user groups, and there are some in-person user groups that hit large metropolitan areas around the world. And this is just a gathering, whether it's virtual or in person, where someone who has a use case for Smartsheet is presenting ideas or some part of their journey to others. And it's such a great way to cross-pollinate ideas from one organization to another. I've found these invaluable because we get trapped in our own way of thinking about our own processes that are within the organizations where we live day in and day out. And it's super refreshing to see that somebody else is taking a completely different slant on solving a similar problem.
That's brilliant. As you say, look beyond within. And I guess the fact that you've got this tool at your fingertips and you're going, it can achieve so much more. It can help me. What are others doing on that bit? And that's fantastic. So I guess a quick plug that you're about to do a user group. Again, what's that on?
So on the 15th of May at 10 a.m. Eastern time, I'm going to be presenting a virtual user group for Smartsheet that's titled Building Executive Insights with Smartsheet. And essentially the thrust of it is going to be, because I'm both an executive at a company who's in the decision-making and on the leadership team, and a builder, an advanced builder of Smartsheet solutions, I've got a little bit of a unique perspective on knowing from what it takes to build something and approach stakeholders, and to also get executives to understand what it is that you're doing with these tools.
We'll drop some links in so people can know what it is and how to find it on that bit. So, Will, let's go back now. You became a Smartsheet Overachiever. Firstly, what is an Overachiever?
Yeah.
And then, also congratulations, by the way. How did you get to become an Overachiever?
Sure. This is Overachiever program is part of the broader Smartsheet community program, which is award-winning and amazing. So when you become involved with Smartsheet, there is a community board essentially where you can go and post questions and get answers and participate and link up with others, which has led to a lot of friendships and a lot of relationships for me over the past few years, because there's certain people within the community that are doing similar things to me, and we've become friends over time. And Smartsheet has done something with that community that's very fun. They've made badges and ranks for people that participate at different levels. And you can essentially climb the ladder of the community in a gamified way that's very open and inclusive to get yourself up to they give you stars essentially in rank as you post more and you participate. And then if you're really into it, like I was, you can apply to become an overachiever, which is they're really looking for people that have parts of their experience with Smartsheet and giving back to the community. And luckily for me, I was awarded that status, like you said, last year, and it has some benefits with it. I get to go to Engage for free and be part of a group that is made solely of power users. And so that's been a lot of fun. But then there's also other community opportunities that exist within Smartsheet relative to advisory councils that I participate in. The product groups will sometimes reach out to users and get their feedback and input on things that they're doing in product. Smartsheet's very good about engaging with their customers beyond just sales. And I really appreciate that about the organization and what it's done for me.
And again, I mean, it sounds like almost you're paid by Smartsheet, but you're not. And I think this is the most powerful thing for me, in that it's because it's made an impact to the organization and to you personally. And that's why you're giving back. And you've become such an advocate for Smartsheet. So, well, I'm going to now just throw you a few quick fire questions. And so I'm going to start with these. What's your top tip to anyone first getting started with Smartsheet?
I really would say that getting involved with the community is the secret code. It is what you really need to do because everything else stems from there. If you start to inject yourself into the community and at least become somebody who's watching and participating in with the community questions and answers, posting questions when you have them, looking for answers on social media, YouTube and LinkedIn, and finding the right people to connect with, then you really are giving yourself a superpower relative to Smartsheet, because there are lots of resources, things out, and get academic about how to use Smartsheet, but being in conversation with people about how they've approached something just makes things work so much faster.
You're not on your own. There's always going to be someone out there who's faced that challenge and cracked in a different way. And what's your favorite feature or trick with Smartsheet?
Lately, it's really been leaning into leveraging when you create one area that's the single source of truth for a certain domain and you get some data in a sheet or a set of sheets. What really becomes powerful for the collaboration that you're doing within your organization, and I do love dashboards, but what lately I've been leaning into is tailored reports and dynamic views to particular audiences, even down to the level of single resources here at Swampfox, because I'm able to create reports and dynamic views that people can interact with, perhaps on sheets that aren't fully open to a broader community, and embed those things into dashboards or present them in work apps or collections to people and have them tailored. That's become really powerful for me. So that's what I would say is my current favorite thing.
And I've got to say, I honestly love the power when you open a dashboard and it's filtered to the current user. And that is amazing for me, that you have one dashboard and whoever goes into it sees just their stuff. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, clearly a massive advocate of Smartsheet, but if you had a magic wand, anything that you would add or that you're excited to think that might be coming?
Yeah, absolutely. I really am eager for Smartsheet to lean more into data visualization. We have the ability to see content and it's good, but I would love for there to be more compelling charts, graphs, slicing, those kinds of premium data visualizations as we may experience in some other platforms, because a lot of the workflows that we manipulate and leverage in Smartsheet end up with data being presented to one or more groups. So that's really what I'm looking for. I'm excited, I have to tell you, Rich, about one of the things that just came out in the early adopter program, where the AI functionality that can help you generate views of charts and metric graphs and things can now be directly put into dashboards.
Brilliant. No, and I couldn't agree more in terms of the ability to slice and dice data on a dashboard. I love the Smartsheet dashboards. I would like to be able to slice and dice more. And I know so many people ask me about that as well. You've been incredibly generous with your time today. I guess anything on the horizon that you want to flag to us that you're coming up? We already know about your user group, or anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
I think the only other thing that I'd like to mention today, Rich, and it's something that's come up in past virtual user groups that I've done, where I've talked about running a leadership team in Smartsheet, and we didn't really touch on that yet. One area that a lot of people may find interesting, and I'd love to talk to anybody who's watching this later about the subject, is that we use EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System here at Swampfox. And this is based on a book called Traction by Gino Wickman. Lots of smaller and medium-sized companies use it. And I leverage Smartsheet to help us implement EOS for Swampfox that I've been doing Smartsheet. So that is, I think, another area where you'll see me talking more and more in public about it.
And I think there will be a future episode on EOS itself. I kept that quiet, Will, so that we save it for a future episode without going too much today. Will, you've been so generous with your time today. And again, you're so generous to the community. Thank you so much on behalf of everyone. Thank you, and keep up the amazing work. So that's it for this week with Will. We trust you found that insightful and got a few ideas to take away to help you transform execution and unlock potential in your organization. If you have any questions or suggestions for future podcasts or attendees, please let us know. And I'm sure Will wouldn't mind if any of you get in touch on LinkedIn, etc. So he's quite prolific there. So I'll put in his details down below. Now, we've got a fantastic lineup scheduled, but this is all about providing people with content that they want to hear. So if you need any support, do get in touch. Or if there's anything that you want to hear about, please let us know your ideas. At Productive, we're all about helping people achieve more with Smartsheet. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.